What up, though? Welcome to my world, Steffi's world. And I just wanted to come in here and get this recap of episode 207 of P Valley that was simply called Jackson. I opened with What Up, though, because it is happy birthday to Detroit. Detroit turned the 320 on today. 320 years old, and I am wearing my Detroit shirt that says I am Detroit. That was gifted to me by a friend from Michigan. Detroit was my home for 10 years, so I love the city. I still have people up there, and again, happy birthday, Detroit. But to get into P Valley recap, this has spoilers, so you may not want to stay on the channel. If you are staying, like, share, and subscribe. I do reviews of P Valley. I found something else on Stars last night. I might be a little late to the party, but Run the World. I really like that, so I binged that last night. But getting into this episode 207, simply called Jackson with P Valley. We had a week hiatus after the death of Big Teak. I think we needed that week, as somebody said we needed a week to grieve, and I think we needed it. So it returned last night with the midnight drop of the episode, and it started off with Miss Ernestine singing, and she was singing. I ain't gonna attempt it, but she was singing "Until You Come Back to Me." That's what I'm gonna do. And she was singing, this wasn't at Club Pink. I just found out looking at a tweet by Katori. She gives you backgrounds after the Sunday night dropped, and she said that it was called Ernestine's. So she was singing at her club, and we see a very young, cute Uncle Clifford, and we see Uncle Clifford's mama. And we see her sing through the decades. We can tell by the changes in fashion and her hair. And then we see the daughter. And she tells her, "It's time, mama. Got your drink. Take your rest." And Miss Ernestine tell her, "No, it's not time." Uncle Clifford meets with Haley, and she tells her, "You just didn't buy a club. You bought some history." And she tells her things that happened in the club. And Haley say, "While all that's, all well and good, future is important." And Uncle Clifford is pretty much like, "Look, we've been beefing, and I want to talk to you, one boss bitch to another boss bitch." And Haley was like, "You ain't gonna talk me out of selling. Promised Land is offered 5 mil, but she's not going to take it because she wants to hold out for that 10." And Uncle Clifford was telling her, "You're not doing this for me or my ancestors. You're doing this for you. You can't piss in my mouth and tell me it's Kool-Aid. You are doing this about you." Mercedes tells Shell that she should let Terica just stay and hang with her for a little while longer. That'll give her time to just be free of her. And so when she hangs up, she goes and she asks Terica, what does she want to do? The young one is talking about her room and her homework, and she was like, I'm not talking about that, the baby. She doesn't know. Lil Murder is laying on the couch and he's replaying that last day with him and Teak in his mind, and he's about to get emotional when he hears Miss Ernestine coughing. And he goes up, and this time she was like, "Did you Isaac Hayes?" He was like, "No, Miss Ernestine, it's Lamarcus." She was like, "Lil who?" He said, "Lil Murder." She was like, "I like that a little bit better." So he feeds her, and she called him Chef Negro D. And she tells him that an old bitch may get used to having him around, and he was like, "Stop flirting with me." And she was like, "I'm not talking about me." And he was like, "Well, put in a good word with Uncle Clifford." And she tells him that she smelt death on him the other night, and she saw all that blood, and he just got a look on his face. Derek and Keyshawn are in the grocery store. He's asking her about moon pies and being ever so nice. That's usually abusers. And Keyshawn really doesn't have much conversation for him. And he's like, Key, I'm trying. So she looks at the end of the aisle and she see Haley peeking down the aisle. So she tells him she needs to go get some makeup because she has some fresh bruises. I noticed a shiner that looked a little newer than the rest of her bruises. So he's really going in hard on her face. I guess now that she's not working and she's home. So she goes over on the aisle and she meets up with Haley. Haley lowers her mask and was like, I see you hadn't used my gun. And Keyshawn was like, I couldn't. You know, I got 2 kids. And she was like, there's other ways to get out. And you hear Derek calling her, Keyshawn, in the store. Where is she going? You guys are in the grocery store. But that's how abusers are. Your every move, always got to know everything. Uncle Clifford comes home and he calls out. He doesn't hear anybody. And he was like, he calls a little murder, a little homicide. And I have to work on getting the pronouns right. She panics thinking that something is wrong. And she runs up to grandmother's room. Little murder sitting there chilling. She's asked him 101. He was like, I did everything on your list. She ate. She resting. She's fine. Everything is fine. So they go downstairs and they sit down. Uncle Clifford's eating and they talk. They talk a little bit, and he was pretty much like, he told him about what Haley had been offered, and Little Clifford pretty much was Little Clifford. I'm just gonna make him a couple. Little Murder was actually like, will you stand to make X amount? And he was like, okay, little calculator. And then he was like, I thought you chose money over love. And he was like, I usually do, but I realized that some things are more important. Mercedes is bumping WAP in the car. And Terica is singing every lyric with her whole chest. And Mercedes was like, why is you talking about pull-out game week and you in that condition? And it starts. So she's like, the next time, could you just get with me in 72 hours so we can get a plan B? And she tells her that pregnancy is life or death for us. She talks about Serena Williams and Beyonce almost losing their lives during childbirth. And Terica was like, oh, so now you want to talk about sex? And Mercedes was like, I did talk. And she was like, no. And that's something as parents that we have to do better, is talking to our kids, and not just to keep with our girls, not just to keep your legs crossed. That ain't going to work. I got that advice. And she asks her again, what does she want to do? She don't want to tell her. And when she realized that they're going to Jackson, she has a whole freak out moment. And Mercedes is like, we're going down there for a consultation. That's all we going down there to do. We are going for a consultation. Woody is blowing up Lil Murder's phone. And he talking about where you been. Promoters are hitting him up. The dates that were canceled, want to rebook and start the tour back up. And come to find out he has Lil Teek's body. And Lil Murder is pretty much like, we giving him a king's send-off. He goes up playing around in Uncle Clifford's room, and he finds, as Uncle Clifford called, the trade of Christmas past. He's talking about Uncle Clifford's closet, and finally he just asks, like, what are you? Uncle Clifford answers, I'm Uncle Clifford. What are you? Lil Murder replies, what the world won't let me be. That was deep. That hit close. Not so much as it applies to me, but just everything he said in that. And Uncle Clifford, they talk some more about things that happen. And he pretty much was like, it's hard to, he doesn't get hurt anymore. He gets disappointed. And he was saying that it's lonely to shine so bright. They hear some noise downstairs. Miss Ernestine has walked out the front door. She left the house. Mercedes stopped at a diner so Terica could go to the bathroom, and she sees a mom and daughter talking. And she flashes back to when her and Patrice was at a diner, when she was probably Terica's age. And they didn't have anything. They didn't have anywhere to stay. They didn't even know where they was going to lay their head that night. And Miss Patrice said, well, I got a friend was going to let us use his pullout. So then she sees a guy looking at Mercedes from the end of the counter. And she tells Mercedes, you want to do your thing? Mercedes like, no, She was like, we good. So she opens her wallet and she has some cash in there. She has a condom. Miss Patrice has a whole freak out moment and she snatches the condom. She like, what is this? And Mercedes like, my boyfriend, Cortez, my boyfriend, he's taking care of me. And Miss Patrice slapped her and proceeded to beat her down in that diner. So when they get back, when Terica gets back in the car, Mercedes asks her about the young man, and Terica tells her that he wants to keep the baby. So Mercedes just started talking to her with wisdom, like, you both are 14, you know, how are you going to take care of a baby, this, that, and other. So Terica decides to be grown up. She want to be grown. And she pretty much tells Mercedes, you just jealous that I have love, and unlike you with them guys just coming to see you to work the pole. Mercedes got those lips. She hit her dead in the mouth. And of course, Terica turns and looks out the window. When I have my baby, I'm never going to hit her. And Mercedes pretty much mumbled, yep, I said the same thing. So they get to Jackson, to the abortion clinic, and the protesters are outside. And we were wondering last week, me and some of the people that chat online, was Katori even going to write this in? And she did. And they were shouting everything, Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the other. And Mercedes pretty much was like, Black Lives Matter until the baby's born. And she ushers her in so they could get some information. They're down there for a consultation. They give her, she has an ultrasound, found out she's 14 weeks and she's right at the cusp to where you need to get this done, girl. She has to make up her mind within 24 hours. So they decide to stay in Jackson to do that. Miss Ernestine, things are found in the woods by Lil Murder and Uncle Clifford. They find like her robe, her bonnet, and they found her by the water. And she wants to go in. And they grab her. And Uncle Clifford is pretty much like, no, grandmother, no. She mentions Uncle Clifford's mama. And she says she got to go get ready. And she was like, if I can't go to the water, bring the water to me. Lil Murder with her bonnet. And he just squeezed it on top of her head and on her face. And to me, it pretty much was giving me down by the riverside. We used to sing that in church. And it also gave me a sense of her looking at that as like a baptism. To me, I was the only one that felt that. Because she said, oh, and then she passed out in Uncle Clifford's arms. Terica and Mercedes is at the pool. She still does not know what she is going to do. And I felt like she really doesn't understand the validity of her situation and the seriousness, because she's going back and forth with baby, with what does Mercedes want to be called. And it's just like, you could tell she's young. And this is what Mercedes is trying to get across. Guys, I've already explained this once before. I'm not big enough on YouTube to get a lot of time on here, so I'm going to have to cut this video and come back with a part 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up. Again, I'm Stephanie. If you like what you heard, like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back.